that to be taken so suddenly, right, swerving to miss a squirrel, he veered off the road and crashed into a telephone pole. And I've often thought about my brother, especially raising children, and they didn't get to know their Uncle Ricky. But I've thought about what it would have been like had we known about the need and the opportunity to, in loss, create life. And it was just by miracle that we found out about Donate Life. And so I want to give you the opportunity to share with our audience exactly what Donate Life is and your connection to it.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be here. It's been just such a privilege to meet so many of you in the elevators and to be welcomed with love and energy. And I wanted to tell you about something that's my passion. And I think we're going to cry the whole next segment, so just here. So I work in a transplant center. And I don't know if you all, this may be something that you know a lot about or you don't know anything. But there are 250 transplant centers in the United States, 25 in Canada. And there are a lot of healthcare professionals like myself who are helping patients who are waiting for life-saving organ transplants. Patients need kidney transplants. Those patients are on dialysis. They are every day. If they don't get dialysis every other day, within 10 days they'll die because your kidney is so important to sustaining life. There are people who are waiting for liver transplants. These people don't have a substitute at all. Thank you. Thanks. There are also people that are on a heart machine. They have a heart machine that is substituting for their heart. And all of these people we're taking care of them, we love them, and the only thing we want for them is for them to have life, more years, more time with their families. So Donate Life is an organization that I'm a part of, I'm passionate about it, that is really out to inspire all of North America to donate organs and tissues and everything that anyone needs so that more people can be alive. And I don't know if you know this, but there are 100,000 people in the United States and about 3,000 in Canada that are waiting right now.
Wow, it's amazing, amazing. And so I actually just did not realize how great the need was, how underserved, right?
Yes. Well, even in your community, I was talking yesterday to an amazing woman when we were moving around the event last night, and she said, you know what, my mom was on dialysis. And I said, you know, I'm sorry to hear that. How long was she on dialysis? And she said, 5 years. And I said, was she able to get a kidney transplant? And she said, no, she died. And I said, did anyone ever tell you that you could have been a kidney donor, or your brothers could have, or someone generous, she could go on a list to wait for someone who died? And she said, no one told me.
Oh my goodness sakes.
And my mother, who, is kind of a has been so instrumental in my own life, has had cornea transplants twice. Because she was an orphan, she didn't get a chance to get her eyes checked, and she had glaucoma, and by the time she was able to get her eyes checked for the first time, she was in her 20s and the damage had been done. And so I know that when she was declared legally blind, how lonely she felt and isolated, and through someone's loss, it gave her sight, which gave her vision.
Yes.
To want to continue to live.
Yes. A woman that I met, she said she was pregnant and she lost her sight and needed a cornea transplant. She was able to see her daughter being born.
Amazing. So, here I am at an event, at a singing event in June, and we're at a table and we're just kind of networking, and there actually weren't that many women there, and I happened to be at a table with a couple of them, of the handful that there were, the amazing women, and I was just starting to finish doing my due diligence. And so I thought, I'm just gonna ask the table, does anybody know about Donate Life? And this woman, who is an entrepreneur, says to me, oh, I know Donate Life very well. I'm alive because of them. And I was like, you gotta be kidding. I mean, you know, right? I mean, everything in divine order. I mean, come on. I mean, really? Really? And so we immediately started talking and getting connected, and I'd like to introduce you to that woman. Her name is Nancy Michaels.
I do it for a living, but I was just talking about this. It's so very dear to my heart because it was so dear. I just need a moment before I go into the ugly cry.
Oh my gosh. Well, you know you're having a bad day when your doctor tells you that you are the star of the Mortality and Morbidity Conference of 2005 in Boston, which I was. 3 months earlier, I found myself in a checkup. They told me just to feature them as the shining star of the Mortality and Morbidity Conference. So the reason for that was that 3 months prior, I ended up being taken by ambulance to Beth Israel Medical Center in Boston. I had just come off a speaking engagement actually in Atlantic City, and I knew that I was extremely sick. And I needed to get home. And I was so sick I couldn't get off the airplane. I had to call a friend, and she picked me up, and I was taken off by a wheelchair and rushed to Beth Israel Medical Center, and thank God, I was met by the dream team of medical professionals. I thought at first I was on the set of Grey's Anatomy because they were all gorgeous. And then I quickly learned I was on an episode of House that I didn't know. And that's so the truth. And then I didn't know what was going on. I thought I had the flu. I thought I was run down, stressed out, and I probably was at the time. I was separated from my husband. I had 3 small children. I was running a business, running my house, and speaking all over the country. And I finally realized after being there a couple of days that I had liver failure and kidney failure, and my whole body was shutting down due to a herpes virus I contracted somehow I never knew I had, which is incredibly rare. You probably can speak to that better than I can. And I'm trying to get the tissue out of my pocket because I came prepared just in case. So I did, thankfully, in many ways, fell into a coma about 3 days after I arrived at the hospital. And I stayed there for 2 months. And during that time, I was lucky enough to get a non-compatible blood type organ, a liver. My kidney had improved, but my liver needed to be. I needed to have a new one. From a young woman, she was 21 years old, who, like her brother, died in a car accident the night before I was transplanted. And because it was a non-compatible blood type organ, I had to go through a process called plasmapheresis, which allowed my body to accept hers. I coded or died twice during the surgery. The second time was more than 2 minutes. And my parents were told that I, would not be the same cognitively. Maybe, and I'm sure I'm not. I'm better than before. And I am just so grateful. I had brain surgery while I was in a coma, which I didn't realize until after I woke up. And my parents, who were wonderful, greeted me and were like, "Hi, it's so good to see you." And I was like, "What happened?" They weren't telling me anything that had gone on. And I did know that I was told I needed a liver transplant, but what I didn't realize is that half my head was shaved.
Oh, and we actually have a photo of you through that time.
Let's get to the bald picture.
But actually, I was telling people that was me in a wheelchair shaking our state treasurer who was visiting the hospital at the time. It's the only picture I have of me when I was really sick. And when I discovered half my head was shaved, my brother, thank God, told me what happened.
I said, let's just do the whole thing. And I was calling it the new blonde. Bald is the new blonde. And then later on, I did take those pictures of my scars because I felt that it was something that I did want to remember. I've actually had reconstructive surgery since that time, just to smooth them out. But
Don't show us.
yeah, ruching is great, and you saw enough, I'm sure, right there was the overexposure. But I'm just incredibly grateful. I'm grateful, so grateful to the woman I know she's now living inside me. But I also want to speak to the kindness of strangers because I think that I'm also an adopted mother of two beautiful girls from China. And it's amazing, you don't know the person's story next to you. And I would just say that this is such a great event to find out more about people who you don't know, who you might have this amazing connection with. And I feel like I've been gifted from complete strangers, and my children, and now my ability to live on and be their mother. And I'm just so grateful for that opportunity.
And what Erica, who passed away, she was the 21-year-old mother of two that passed away, did was she had it on her driver's license that she wanted to donate her organs. So part of the awareness for you, if you don't know already, and provided there are no, issues regarding your family, your religion, certainly not trying to impact or go against any fundamental beliefs that you have. But for those of you who just never realized, and we are mothers of wonderful, daughters and sons, to encourage and spread the word that there are so many people dying every day who all they needed was an organ.
If I could say a couple of things, I don't know, this is just coming down my a couple of things. The first thing that moves me every day, I love what I do, is that if somebody can get a kidney transplant, they're guaranteed to get between 4 and 16 additional years of life compared to dialysis. So 4 to 16 years. Isn't that amazing that someone either at the moment of death or some charitable friend or family member donated a kidney while they were alive? This is the extraordinary thing about what is possible when we all work together, which is the point of this here today, I know.
Exactly.
Organ donation is the best of humanity. It's people that are vulnerable, accepting, and are being grateful for the gift that they've received and making their life matter. And it's people that are so generous that step in when they didn't have to and do things that at a moment of grief, a family member at a bedside says it's okay, and a person who is perfectly healthy and never thinks they're gonna die says, you know what, if I died, I wanna do good, do more good. And then you get these friends and family and strangers who are now, they're people that donate because they feel called, like blood donation.
Exactly.
It's amazing, and I'm just standing it, and I'm filled up.
So, we showed the picture, obviously, of you when you're sick, and we see you here now. Nancy, we see you. We see you. We are grateful
Beautiful.
for all the wonderful things that you're doing, and we thank our higher power. He gave you more time to continue to do
Beautiful
great what
eyes.
you do.
Thank you so much.
And we celebrate you. And applause for Nancy.
Closing, but I actually heard on an NPR interview from the book The Little Bee by Chris Cleave, and he says, on the girl's brown legs there were many small white scars, and you'll notice the one I got yesterday when I was getting out of the cab too. I was thinking, do those scars cover the whole of you, like the stars and the moons on your dress? I thought that would be pretty too, and I ask you right here, please to agree with me, that a scar is never ugly. That is what the scar makers want us to think. But you and I, we must make an agreement to defy that. We must see all scars as beauty, okay? This will be our secret. Because take it from me, a scar does not form on the dying. A scar means I survived. Thank you so much.
Here's what's happening. On Tuesday, I met with the managing directors. They come in for managing director training and networking on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And I told them about them. And I asked for help. Will you help me? Will you, through your chapters, commit between now and December 15th to raising $500 each in order to help make a critical contribution to Donate Life for the amazing work they do in creating healings? And I'm not kidding you. In less than 5 minutes, I wasn't even done. The managing directors were getting up and grabbing pens. Amy, I want you to know, in less than my goal was, I told Donate Life, my goal was 20 grand throughout the entire conference. We raised $20,500 in 5 minutes. Because of their personal connection in some form or fashion, or they were just inspired by their heart.
Thank you so much, all of you, for who you are in this and here.
So I want to tell you something that happened to me that's never happened before. So I called Donate Life, and I just said, I know you don't know me, but I want to raise a crap load of money for you. And they were really kind of stunned, I think, by the whole thing. And so we're having conversations about everything, and I told them that I met Nancy and that you'd been wanting to meet your donor family, and can you help me, and all of that kind of thing. And they immediately went to work. And then I got this phone call from Donate Life. And I'm telling you, this is why you never know. You give, and you expect nothing in return. And then you get blown away. Because we've been raising money for a long time. And for the first time, I got a phone call that says, Sandra, we so appreciate what your organization does, that our biggest, most important awareness to like 150 countries, 35 million viewers, is through the Tournament of Roses Parade. And we would be honored to make your organization, eWomenNetwork Foundation, the top tier benefactor. So imagine, for just a moment, imagine the Tournament of Roses Parade. I mean, it's like a bucket list thing, right? To be there, to see all of these amazing floats, all in flowers. And we are going to be in all of their press releases, all of the 150 countries, 35 million viewers, the top benefactor for what we have created in 5 minutes for this organization. Now that is beyond my wildest expectations.
Slide back on.
Okay, so go ahead and put the slide back on, if you will, that you just showed, right? So tell us what this is.
I am so excited to tell you what this is. Okay, so this, I want to introduce you to the floats. So here's the thing. Donate Life is one of about 50 floats that are on in New Year's Day. I don't know if you've ever watched the Rose Bowl or the Rose Bowl Parade. Anyone here? Anyone? Here we go. All right. So,
Not to mention.
yes. So basically, this is a passion that is shared by North America in general, but we are one of the 50 floats, and the goal, again, why are we afloat in the parade? It's not about the float, okay? I'm going to tell you why. So first of all, this float is to inspire people across the country who are either touched by this cause or have never thought about it to remember this, and they're making their decisions, their life goes to struggle. And every year we have one image that very quickly somebody can get touched by and moved by. And this year there's on the slide a phoenix rising from the ashes. And on the neck of the phoenix are images of people who have died, oral images. And people are riding on this float, people who their loved ones have died, they're holding pictures in their honor, people that have received orders that are inspiring people with the new life that they have. And for that time, in front of 30 million people, in front of 500 music stores are placed around the country for this cause because of this event. The other thing that's amazing is that people place individual roses with messages to their loved ones on the float. So you look around, many of these roses all over the float are from different people. So there are so many people riding with us. And then on this float on New Year's Day, we do this and we know the world that needs it and inspire them to this cause.
So here's what we're going to do. In addition to the money that we raise, we are going to be part of the 2011 float, and we're unveiling it for you right now. 2012, right? 2012 is New Year's. Thank you for that.
Sure.
January 2nd this year. Thank you. 2012 float, and it has a very powerful.
Yes. So let me, yes.
Okay. So let's reveal it. Bring it on up for everyone to see.
Okay, so where we start is with the theme of the parade, which is the theme this year for all of the floats is Just Imagine. And what would the people in our community, what would Nancy want more than anything if she could just imagine something for in the area of organ donation? And what our community said loudly was, we are just imagining one more day. One more day of life, of getting to make a difference with people, of getting to hug your children, of getting to be healthy, to have joy for the people who've lost loved ones. It's one more day to be with them. That's all we all want. So this year, the theme is the preciousness of time. And what we're going to be doing, the images of the people who died are going to be along the clock faces in a circle. The people who are going to be riding are going to be celebrating and grateful and moving the country.
And so, I just can't think of anybody more wonderful to ride on the float. And represent the network family. And while we the ability for that person who gave life to others to be on a floor graph on the hour of one of the clocks as well, for all of our Canadian support. And finally, for the dedication garden, what happens is all of the roses will be in a vial and have a dedication tag on them. And every single chapter will get together and come up with whatever you want on your dedication tag, and we will be part of placing them on the float. So we will include you in observing the judging, decorating the float, the dedication garden, riding on the float, the gala event, the post-parade reception, to honor and celebrate the gift you've been given, because I know how appreciative you are.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy.
I asked, I said, can I tell this story? And she's like, if we have time. So I want to tell you, so this is obviously something near and dear to my heart. And the first float that I went on, that I had the privilege of being on, was the Phoenix, Rising from the Ashes. And one of the things, I want to give you a feel for a second about what she's been experienced, because this is the best thing to do on New Year's of anything that I've ever experienced. So you show up, and I'm a volunteer. I'm wearing a blue T-shirt. I'm in the back, and I'm a witness. I'm a witness to incredible people. And so I show up, and one of my volunteer tasks is to be with the people who are going to ride the float, like Nancy here. And a woman comes in, an African-American woman named Hazel Lee, and I didn't know her at all, and she was frustrated. She had come from New York. Her luggage had been lost. She'd come to Pasadena. She was exhausted and hungry. And I said, my job is to take care of you and feed you. And I go, how are you? And she's like, and she told me that her 12-year-old daughter had died. And this was the first year of her daughter's passing, and she was sad. And all of this is just so emotional for everybody. And I said, I got it, let me feed you. Because that's what we do, right? Mothers? So Hazel and I are buddies, and she's meeting incredible people. They're all hugging and crying and sharing stories and everything. And Hazel is getting happier and happier, and we're at the gala, we're dancing, the whole thing. And so then there was a point called the judging. And basically, they want to give the awards out before the New Year's Day. So we all have to do a little dress rehearsal. So what happens is the float comes out of the barn where we've all been gluing on everything, and they rise up the Phoenix for the first time. And imagine all of these people around the float now, people who are touched by the cause, 1,000 of us. There's 1,000 people that come to Pasadena to do this. And Brian, who's running the whole thing, he's like, oh my gosh, one of our people is sick. Would you mind just sitting up on the float for the judging? And I was like, are you kidding me? Oh, do I have to sit on the float? So I'm thrilled, and so I get on there. I'm the only one who hasn't received or donated an organ, but I'm representing the people who love them. And I get there, and the music starts, and what happens is it has to be dead silent. They ring a cowbell on one side and a cowbell on the other. They play the music, and we wave as if we're at a parade. Like this. So the audience was told they had to wave back so that we wouldn't feel foolish. So Hazel Lee and I are sitting next to each other on the float. And I'm looking, and she's grinning, and I'm grinning, and we are waving, and the music's poignant and beautiful and inspiring. And at the end of the float, the cowbell rings, the judges are crying, everybody is cheering, and Hazel Lee burst into tears. And I said, Hazel Lee, are you okay? And she said, I just released my daughter to heaven. This float, it's not about the float. It's the peace for people who've lost loved ones. It's the inspiration for the country. It's the power of what these people do every day. And I'm honored and happy to be a witness to all of it. So thanks.